Well, my fourth one is a curveball that you will not expect.
No way.
Yeah.
Nah. Ladies and gentlemen, that time is upon us once again. You've waited, and it is now here because my guild is actually down my throats to choose what are our mains going to be coming into the Shadowlands. And this time, of course, we have a fellow raider with us, Mr. Finn, who also has the choices to make. I'm interested, Finn. What do you look for when you're deciding a new main?
I've never really looked in much detail before because I pretty much only played Warlock or Priest. So it's not really been much of a choice previously. But for this one, I've wanted to spice it up a bit. So yeah, I've gone through a little bit of... I've tested every class. I've decided what role I want to play, I think was the first thing. And then from there, what I want to do outside of Raid. Because the one thing I didn't really enjoy in BFA was doing like M+ on a Warlock at the start, M+ on a Priest in the middle. So I think like I wanted something that was relatively useful in all content, so I can just sort of have a bit of fun wherever, really. So
yeah, it's a new expansion is such a great time to re-roll, and I don't know how everybody else's guild does it, but our guild did it this way this time, and they did it kind of the same last time. Is we have a one-to-one meeting with one of the officers, and they go, "What mains do you want?" Because we need 2 in our guild. And they're like, "What do you want?" And then they go, "Okay." And then they take it down, and then they go back with everybody's ideas, and they go, "Right, who all picked the same one?" And they go through it and naturally try to figure out, okay, like 6 people want to play Warrior. That's not going to work. 9 people want to play Paladin. That's not going to work. And then they come back and say, okay, well, somebody needs to flex here. But apparently, from what I'm told, everybody kind of naturally fell back into a solid raid comp. Although most people are switching, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be interesting.
Now, for me, people are going to be pissed at me in this video, Finn. Because I'm going to bring up a class that I actually don't like.
Excellent.
But it's very highly possible going to be my new main. So let me get started with the choices first. One of my choices, I think I'm going to go through maybe 3 or 4 of the potentials here, is going to be the DK. It should be no surprise to anybody. The Death Knight has... Unholy specifically has caught my eye. And I went off it because the best setup for it was so many global cooldowns. It was ridiculous to get this fight started as a DK. And it did start to get on my nerves to the point that I didn't want to play it anymore. But in the last 2 weeks, they have chopped away a lot of those GCDs. And they're not there anymore. They're actually far more concise. And it's a really nice bit of gameplay. The only thing I dislike is that... once the cooldowns are out, Finn, you're kind of just in this waiting for them to come back and there's not much to do. But I'm fine with it. I do not like Frost, though. That's my big issue with this. I'm not a big fan of Frost. Even with the new two-handed obliterate stuff, it's still the same Frost it's been since, like, Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm very wary that, obviously, we do play for performance, is that if Frost is just better, that I'm either going to be breathing for ages... or I'm just going to be playing what I find a rather boring obliterate style, which is big chunky crits and...
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly, that's why DK is not on my list. Is I don't like Frost. I don't like Frost enough that I would... Yeah, if it was the best spec, I don't think I would feel great playing it in Raid or M+, really.
But I love Blood DK so much. That's what's bringing me back into the DK every time, is Blood and Unholy. Adore them. Adore them so much. Like, I just enjoy every second I'm playing those specs. It's just honestly, the big downer for DK for me is just that. Like, if it comes to Frost, and certainly if it comes to Breath of Sindragosa Frost, I just don't... That'll just kill my entire enjoyment of the entire class, is being stuck doing that. Even if it's just during raids.
Yeah, agree.
It's a tough one, but it's on the list as it's still potentially there. Finn, your one.
Oh, okay. Monk. Yeah.
Risky.
It's a risky pick. I know. That's going to be a theme of my list, I think.
Yeah. Risky.
Yeah, Windwalker Monk is so fun. I know that there's tons of like bugs and sort of issues with it that they've tried to fix with recent patch, but yeah, I just think it's really enjoyable to play. It's really good in the raid testing that we did. It's ridiculously good in M+. It feels enjoyable to play in almost every part of the game right now, or the part of the games that I play. And then the other side of it is that the Mistweaver and the Brewmaster specs, I like how Mistweaver plays, although it has some issues right now.
Yeah,
so
it did get changed this week.
Yeah.
So maybe fix some of that.
So I'd be really comfortable healing some dungeons, even maybe healing some PvP. I don't know. We'll find out. And I would be fine tanking on Brewmaster. It's not my favourite tank, but it's not my least favourite either. So I can multi-roll in 3 specs that I'm comfortable playing, and I would have a decent amount of fun on.
That flexibility is so big, right?
Yeah.
Like, just being able to... It's one thing I love on my Druid. Like, as much as I hate Guardian, I play it so rarely that, you know, when the guys are like, we just need a tank, I'm like, yeah, fine. You know what I mean? Traditionally, I'll try and heal or DPS, but if they need a tank, sure. I've got the option. I've geared it up. It's ready to go. I'm not going to commit to it for life or anything like that. But that is something that I like, that flexibility. Certainly early game, because everybody wants dungeons all the time. Being able to pad out those groups, it feels so good. You're not relying on someone else. Like, if you only play Shadow, for example, and you don't really want to heal, you're kind of like, I need a tank. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, I started BFA on a Warlock, and that was awful. The first couple of weeks of M+ and M0, it just felt like you were reliant on like tanks coming online or healers coming online, especially if we were doing like guild-only groups. So yeah, that sort of stuff, I definitely want some more flexibility. The monk specs, I really like 2 of them. The third one is passable. And I think that's as close as you're going to get to like being able to multi-roll all 3 and be comfortable with it. So yeah, Monk's definitely on the list.
Oh, okay. But only 1 raid spot, probably. Like,
yeah,
they fall into the same category as my next choice, which is really going to annoy some people, is that we did show this actually on stream, that even if they do extreme damage, they just don't bring enough stuff to warrant, say, multiple spots. And it really is a case of, if you're going to make that play, you're really hoping to be the only one making that play. You know, if you choose Windwalker, it's like, well, I'm going to be the only Windwalker. And you're kind of relying also that there isn't some jank-ass boss fight that requires a super strict setup, because you know Windwalker is one of the ones to go first, probably.
Yeah.
Risky.
Very risky.
My next one, then. Feral Druid.
What?
No meme. Seriously, like, I've had so much fun on this fucking thing. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it comes back to that Druid role. Like, I don't particularly like balance right now, which is my current main. But I'm okay with it on occasion. Like, if it was for a raid fight, sure. Like, you know, we need range. Similar to how shamans play sometimes. Like, we really need you to be elemental here or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then that's fine. No issue with that. I like Resto, and I'm not a fan of Guardian, but again, like I said earlier, I can play it when needed. That's fine. So, Feral... I've been a Feral main before in Wrath of the Lich King, and I very much enjoyed the flexibility of being a Druid, and especially because you could hybrid much better than you could after that, when they really tried to split it off and stop you being able to do multi-roles. But they've brought that back now. They've kind of brought back Heart of the Wild. They brought back a lot more of your multi-class utility with the unpruning. So it feels much more hybrid again. And it's a case of... It plays really nicely for me. Like, it's pretty simple, but it plays really nicely. And it falls into that same category for me as the Windwalker Monk, is there's only potentially 1 spot, if that. But it's just really fun. You know, it's got its problems, like every class has got. And I think we should have said this about your Windwalker as well. Yeah, there are bugs and things, but are they game-killing bugs? That's going to vary subjectively, I think. For me, no. And the issues that Feral runs into aren't there either. What I can do now in this expansion is we have the Stampeding Roar, we have all the CC abilities, we've got like 9 different CC choices, as well as bringing the battle res, and playing it is really smooth and really nice. And it's definitely something I could see myself committing to, but I'm actually wary on your choice, because if you go Windwalker, a Windwalker and a Feral...
Yeah.
Yeah!
That's a spicy comp right there. I mean, Feral has uncapped AoE as well, right?
For now, yeah, Primal Wrath is uncapped, which is really strong.
It's
and
big.
I actually banking on that being changed. Like, I'm not like closing my eyes every time the patch notes come out. I'm actually expecting that to change at some point.
Yeah, it's potentially big for last boss.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it really, really is. There's that's what I've been looking at as well, as the utility of it. It's like, there is a place for this. and what it brings to the raid. It's not just like, I like this, you better let me play it. It's like there's genuinely opportunities for Feral to shine in the new raid.
Yeah.
If you get the chance to actually show it off.
Yeah, I think Feral and Monk are probably very similar then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you better watch yourself. What's your next one, potentially?
Oh, it's another Ret Paladin. Ret Paladin.
Not bad. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think they're going to be potentially pretty good. There's lots of opportunities to use like Bop and Freedom and a lot of utility that Paladin brings. I'm also kind of okay, like 5th healing on a Paladin as well, if a fight needed that. And I like Holy. I love Prop Paladin so much. And I think the Ret Paladin is really fun right now as well. I need to further test the new talents that they've brought in the last couple of days. But
yeah, they got a brand new spell today.
Yeah, but they actually look like spells that would work even better on Last Boss. Again, like one of those things that you look at and you're like, well, that's got mad AoE and mad single target burst now. So it's pretty much what you need on every boss fight. So yeah, I think Paladin's up there as well. It's the same thing as Monk. Again, I really like 2 of the specs. The 3rd one is passable. I get to do everything. I can play every role. I'd be really happy to play Paladin as well. So yeah, pretty similar thought process to Monk. I think it's probably a slightly safer pick than Monk. But then I think...
I would agree, because Bop is going to be huge in the new raid. Certainly on Mythic.
Yeah, I think so too, with all the bleeds and stuff. Yeah, I think it's a safer pick than Monk. I think it's slightly less fun than Monk. Not by much, but slightly.
I would agree.
So I think that's the sort of trade-off for that one. But yeah, Ret Paladin, definitely up there.
Yeah, I could see that, because Paladin was on my list. Like, Paladin definitely was on my list. But similar to you, I favoured Prot over Ret. And that was the thing. It's like, I was almost in the mindset is I could play Ret as a main, so I could also play Prot really well geared without having to go crazy.
Yeah.
To do these things.
A little bit, yeah.
And yeah, I thought about it more and more. I was like, I played Ret last 2 days, actually. I actually played Ret Paladin. And I was like, it is really, really fun. There's no getting away from it. Like, the stuff you can do, the utility you're bringing to the dungeons is all there. I do think you're right, though. It is a much safer bet if you're looking to not get, to minimize the risk of being benched because of class. Or end up playing, at least in our case, your main alt more than what you would consider your main. Paladin does seem like a safer choice, purely because of the Blessing of Protections, the Lay on Hands. The freedoms are actually huge as well in the new raid.
Yeah.
There is really a lot for a Paladin to shine in general.
Yeah, it's all big. I think, utility it brings is really good. And it's, the way it does DPS seems to match up to a lot of the fights that we've seen. So, yeah.
What Covenant, out of interest? Because we haven't mentioned these in the last 2, and we probably should. For those people who are interested in choosing mains and thinking about performance as well as spots and raids, what Covenant would you go with your Paladin?
I mean, for fun, you'd have to go Kyrian, right? But I actually
see it, dude.
I actually kind of like Necrolord. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Necrolord too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's way less fun. Like in AoE,
it's
way less fun.
Yeah.
But it's practically so much better.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The other one that's actually they've made a couple of changes to it, and I've been looking through Discord and stuff, and it seems to do really well right now, is the Venthyr one, the massive consecration.
Yeah, it's no longer that ridiculous 4-minute cooldown, and they've actually made it so it's a proper AoE spell now, which it should have been.
Yeah, and it doubles your Hammer of Wrath damage. So it slaps single target too.
I mean, they should have changed that. It actually annoys me. Doesn't it annoy you that, like, the first time we tried that spell all those months ago, we were like, this doesn't work, Blizz. Like, it's so bad.
It's taken them a while to catch on.
It's taken a long time, dude. What do you think, though? I suppose we should put this question to you, is how do you feel about Night Fae and perhaps that buff being crazy good to other people?
I think that's fine. I think that's the risk you take when you play a class that has a lot of utility, is that you might have another utility button to press. That's okay. I'm comfortable with it. I think the baseline Paladin gameplay is fun enough without the Covenant spell that I wouldn't mind having a Covenant spell that I just use to buff someone else. That's okay. Yeah,
I think that's a good mindset. Going back on the DK, I would say Venthyr ideally. I love Swarming Mist. I think Swarming Mist is super, super fun to press. But as it stands right now, it does feel like Night Fae is the only choice. So hoping some adjustments are made there. Because right now, Night Fae is just fucking dumb. For paladins, I'm not sure about your monk. What covenant for your monk?
Well, I mean, the fun one is Night Fae, for sure. But that got changed a little bit a couple of weeks ago. I don't think it's that good anymore. I think you'd probably end up going Kyrian, to be honest, because it just works all the time. It's kind of boring.
It's really boring.
Yeah, it's kind of boring, but it works for all 3 specs in almost every scenario. So
yeah, Weapons of Order, I think it's called.
Yeah,
it's just a mastery buff, right? And there's some
resets your major things, so like Keg Smash.
Such a shame. Like Bone Dust Brew is so fun for Mistweavers and stuff. The way it interacts.
Yeah.
Of course, Venthir has been your love child since Shadowlands Alpha started.
It's so good. It's so buggy though.
It's so buggy. It's so buggy and impractical. Next on my list then is the Hunter. Very, very... I'm not even going to lie to you guys. This is a very, very high possibility. And the irony is, I don't like Hunter gameplay. But it's very, very high on the list as being a potential new main. The reason is nothing to do with class changes. It is nothing at all to do with the adjustments they've made to BM and MM or even Survival, which got some nice adjustments today. It is purely down to something I didn't realize how much I had missed until I did some raid testing on a Hunter, just like on the off chance. I was like, this is kind of fun. I'm going to test it out. It's not like I hate Hunter gameplay. I'm just not, it doesn't overwhelm me with fun. And in that one raid, I got to contribute in so many little ways of volunteering to help out. Like, having a high mobility and immune capable class in the new raid is so good.
Yeah.
It's so, so good. There are so many jobs for people to do that. And to we laughed, actually, during our raid testing video, how much you are going to move out with debuff and stack with debuff and run away with arrow. There's so much of that, and a Hunter nullifies so much of it that, and you can support your fellow raiders. That alone was all my gameplay, was just finding ways to help out the raid, and I fell in love. I fell in love with it, and I've raid tested like 7 times now on a Hunter. Like nearly every raid test, I've been on a Hunter.
Yeah, it just looks really useful. It's like another one of those. I don't think you'll stack many of them. I don't think they're the hard carry that they kind of are as BM right now on live, but yeah, they're definitely useful for like doing little odd jobs, being able to sort of take mechanics sort of by yourself.
Yeah, you think
on
about
occasion.
Artificer, you're carrying those big seeds. I mean, mages can do kind of the same thing, but less effectively.
Yeah.
Especially because you can leave your pet on priority targets and all that kind of stuff. And I hate pet classes. I'm aware that people are going, Hunter? Yeah, they're against kind of most of what I feel. But what I can't escape is playing it was just like, this is great. Like, we're looking around and we're kind of like, okay, well, we need to escort this guy. I'll do it. We need to carry this thing and get it through a portal. I'll do it. We need to soak all these things. I'll do it. I was just like, this is what I love. I love finding ways of doing that extra bit rather than just DPS.
Yeah.
Certainly for the last 2 expansions, Druid and stuff like that, that's all I've been able to do is just DPS. And it's like... throwing Innovate isn't the same as being able to take care of these mechanics and make things really easy for people. So, very, very high on my list. Covenant choice would be probably Venthir, because it's the actual single target spell. Although I would prefer probably Kyrian, because Kyrian works in M+, and AoE. But when it comes to actually killing the boss, probably Venthir. Not that I need the mobility either on that class, but so it's a little like...
Apparently Necrolord's a thing.
Oh, I know. Alex was talking. So I have, obviously, Alex is our raid leader, and he's a Hunter, and he's been talking. It's like, you want to go Necrolord? I'm like, dude, that spell is so fucking boring.
It's so dull, but if you have low focus generation, it's like, it kind of helps.
It'll come down to, I guess, the mathematicians a little bit to say, well, this is just distinctly better in all scenarios, which... I mean, it is. Death Chakrams works in dungeons, and it works sort of single target, especially in the raid, because there's usually more than one target, even if it is just a big boss. But it's so dull. It's just fire and forget. Enjoy. Have fun. But so again, it's not... But I want to reiterate, it's not really the gameplay I'm after, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, fair.
It's not really the gameplay I'm after. It's more the extra stuff that I get to do. That I'm really, really enjoying the most. And that hasn't worn off. I actually raid tested more on a Hunter to see if that would wear off, and I was like, nope. Every single raid, there's something I can do, be it move out and solo some ability, which means that my friend survives better. or I can feign death things. You know, we've been doing all those kinds of things, every single boss, and I've been like, this is really fun, because this will continue on farm. I'll always have stuff to do that isn't just nuke. So really, that's my feel on it, Finn, the Hunter. Next up for you?
It's probably no surprise this one. Priest's on the list, obviously. This is like, this sort of goes against what I've been trying to do for the rest of them, but because I do want to play melee, I think, into this expansion. But if I had to play ranged, then it would be Priest, and it's not even really close to the rest of them.
Not even Warlock?
No.
I'm surprised Warlock isn't on your list.
No, honestly, I played Warlock for like, I don't know, 8 years or something. I think I'm done with it. I'm not entirely sure they could make changes to that class that would bring me back, to be honest. I think I'm sort of burnt out. But the Priest changes are really good. They seem good in most scenarios. They even seem good in M+. Disc is insanely fun. So the healing off spec's also really good. It doesn't let me tank, which is obviously the downside. But yeah, if it was a case of maybe doing like a melee main and a ranged alt, then I would rather do Priest, basically. So that's why it's still there.
And my final choice on my list is the Priest as well. I think we both fell in love with it. It's both. I mean, I didn't play anywhere near as much Priest as you did in BFA, but it was my main alt for a while. It actually annoyed me going back. We were talking before we started recording this, is that we were doing some Priest and Paladin in the live raid, and I forgot how much I disliked Priest in BFA compared to the new one. I went back and I was like, oh god, this is so annoying. Like, I got hit by something that knocked me out of Void Form. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Pre-corruption Priest was not fun. So yeah, if you don't have mad corruption on it, it's not great.
I do not. Yeah, I haven't kept up with the corruption on my Priest, so we played it because there was a spare spot in the raid, and I was like, oh god, this sucks. Like, I'm doing so much stuff that's just like so much worse than it is in Shadowlands, and I want to play the Shadowlands Priest so much. My fingers were naturally trying to press like Power Infusion and Devouring Plague, all those kind of things.
Yep.
And those buttons aren't there. I was like, okay, I'll just Void Bolt and squeeze my 2 in and Void Bolt again, and off we go. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I enjoyed it in BFA, but compared to the new one, it feels lackluster.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't find much of a niche for the Priest, though. I think that's going to be considered, compared to a Warlock and Mage, in the Rage POV, and Hunter.
I think a Warlock
I don't see a big need of them.
Yeah, I think a Warlock does literally everything a Priest does, but better right now.
Yes, and brings more to the table as well, from gateways to teleports to hellstones to just everything. Warlock's look is so strong, and that's why I was really surprised Warlock wasn't on your list, because the Warlock just looks extraordinarily strong going into the Shadowlands. They look like absolute beasts.
And don't get me wrong, it's fun as well. Affliction is fun in particular. The only way that I would put Warlock on the list is if I got to play demo. If demo was useful, I could be drawn back, but I played so much Warlock through the last like 3 or 4 expansions that I need a break from it. I still feel that way right now.
No, that makes sense to me. So I have to pick 2.
Yeah.
And there's my 4 that I'm dicing around with. I guess some honourable mentions here are the Warrior, because I was so in love with the Warrior at the start of Shadowlands. Unfortunately, the Warrior has had significant changes. They really reduced a lot of the stuff, so they're kind of just dull and lame now, at least in my opinion. They play fine, but compared to what we had at the start of Shadowlands, definitely not quite there. Yeah. The Windwalker Monk, again, I kind of fell out of favour with it. I still find it really fun, but I think in that role, Feral, I found more fun. Mm-hmm. And the DH, no. Yeah. Even after the new changes where they got like Fury of the Eldari back, I was like, nah.
Well, my 4th one is a curveball that you will not expect.
Oh, go on.
Rogue.
No way.
Yeah.
Nah.
So I've been playing Rogue the last few days, and it's good, especially sub. Sub is so fun.
It's the Legion sub, so I'm very WAD sub. I think is when I mained Rogue, and it is good.
Yeah,
it is good.
Sub is very fun. I like Assassination. I've always kind of liked Assassination, but it's pretty standard. Yeah, I don't like Outlaw or whatever it's called now. combat. I don't like that spec at all.
I don't think any rogue likes Outlaw. They're so tired of it after like 2-3 months.
Yeah, I don't like that spec at all. But sub is super fun. I've been having a ton of fun with sub in particular. And assassination's really fun as well. It's just taken forever for Blizz to get this class finished and fixed. That it's been hard to test properly, really. Like, even I don't think I've done a single Torghast run with it because it was never functioning. So
no, it wasn't.
There's a lot of rogue testing that I need to do, but it's potentially creeping on the list.
It's strange because a lot of people have been asking us about rogues, and the fact is they are still missing stuff to this day.
Yeah,
they've been sort of, I don't know what's happened, but they've been very much the bottom of the list of priorities for Blizz, and I think their impression was we're kind of just going to leave rogue as it is and do some very minor tweaks here and there. Nothing about the rogue appeals to me this time, that's for damn sure. Covenant, I guess Necrolord, because that seems to be the only playable Covenant for rogues.
Night Fae is really fun as well, though. I'll call that one out. It's annoying for solo play, but in dungeons and stuff, it's like another Vanish, especially if you're playing sub. It's kind of crazy.
Yep.
So, yeah, I was having fun with both.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can't see you being a rogue.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I think that's a big curveball for me. But
I think so.
And
that's a wild card.
It misses almost everything I like about Paladin and Monk as well, where there's no off spec really for me to do triple DPS again. So it's unlikely, but it's creeping its way on.
I out of honourable mentions that I just did as well, explain to me why the Shaman's not on the list, because I'm really surprised it's not.
Ellie is terrible. If I'm totally honest, that's why. They've obviously changed Ellie again back to Maelstrom. Yeah, enhancement's fun. Don't get me wrong. There's a build for enhancement with Hailstorm that's really fun, but then there's also the potential for enhancement to have like 5 active talents in a single build, and it gets super complicated and not enjoyable. So I don't know. Enhancement's one of those things that I would really like to play if a set build was good, but then you would play the same build the whole expansion, and I don't think it would feel that great. So yeah, it's a little bit fun to sort of dive on and play around with for a little bit, but I don't like it too much. And Ellie is full terrible in my opinion. It's like Boomkin levels of terrible for me. So I would never want to play it. And I know what happened. Like, I play an enhancement Shaman on live right now, and there are fights where I go Ellie because it's easier. And I just would.
You did last night?
Yeah, I did last night. And I just wouldn't want to on this Ellie, like, at all.
No, that makes sense to me. We've missed only one. We have to do this. We've missed only one class out of the whole list. The Mage. Neither of us are interested. I used to main Mage. I don't know if you played Mage at all. Arcane is pretty poggers right now. It got some slight nerfs which were justified. They weren't strange or out of the blue. Zero interest from yourself on Mage? I know I have no interest of the Mage, despite it being really strong right now. Frost and Arcane seem extremely powerful. But
yeah, it seems really good.
Nothing appeals to me about the Mage.
It seems really good. It's the same as what I said about the Priest. Like, I think if I wanted to play a melee, I'd probably want to play Priest.
Ranged, you mean?
Sorry, ranged rather. I'd probably want to play Priest, and yeah, even after that, I think it would probably be like Hunter. So it's good, but it's down the list for me, even for ranged. So it's not appearing on mine.
Right. So after that, then, team, our focus is going to be on trying to whittle this down to 2 before our guild loses his mind, as well as you guys. But those are our thoughts right now on where we're at. Different lists besides the Priest crossover, totally different from both sides.
Yeah.
We'll be back to you probably let's give it a week and see if we can nail it down then, because at the moment they're changing the classes reasonably dramatically every week. Every 7 days the big class changes come in. Like we said, Paladin's got brand new spells yesterday, a lot of tweaks. Some Covenants got nerfed heavily. The Warriors unfortunately got 45% reduction on their Spear of Bastion. Ouch. Pretty heavy. So there's all kinds of stuff going on now, so we're still in flux. These choices aren't final by any means. What's your prediction of what you might think is going to be your primary?
Paladin, probably.
The Ret Paladin.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely right now.
I think mine is probably Hunter, against everything I believe about choosing a main. It is. It's a pet class, which I don't like. The gameplay doesn't thrill me. But goddamn, did I have fun just being able to use all the utility that class has.
Yeah.
We'll be back with you in a week, guys. Thank you, Mr. Finn.
No worries.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Mains are coming. Bye-bye.